night is dark and full of theories.
What if Sansa Stark married Jaime Lannister, not Tyrion? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. If this video gets 3,000 likes, we'll release a part 2.
Your sister has learned that your new friends, the Tyrells, are plotting to marry Sansa Stark to Sir Loras.
She's a lovely girl. Missing some of Loras's favorite bits, but I'm sure they'll make do.
The Karstarks have marched home. The young wolf has lost half his army. His days are numbered. Theon Greyjoy murdered both his brothers. That makes Sansa Stark the heir to Winterfell.
The Tyrell army is helping us to win this war. Do you really think it's wise to refuse them?
There's nothing to refuse. This is a plot. Plots are not public knowledge. And the Tyrells won't carry this one out until after Joffrey's wedding. We need to act first and kill this union in its crib.
That is why I will arrange an alternative wedding pact between Sansa Stark. And who might this new suitor be? The Tyrells are gallant, wealthy, respected, and most importantly, she has no reason to fear them. If we offer her protection, she'll jump at that opportunity.
And what protection could she possibly require?
You know quite well. Unless you've forgotten your precious blunder with a certain Lord Stark.
How dare he?
Enough, both of you. Tyrion is correct. That situation cannot be repeated. This is why I will handle these arrangements myself. Tyrion, you shall ensure the Tyrells remain ignorant of this plot. And Cersei, keep Joffrey away from Sansa. The last thing we need is our king stirring up trouble yet again. With that, he flicks his wrists and dismisses them. Cersei shoots Tywin a questioning look, but he ignores her. He knows what she will ask, but declines to answer. There will be time for that later. It was Cersei who had him informed of this marriage pact. She was even followed by a suggestion of marriage. Sansa Stark and Tyrion. No doubt she did that simply as a way to humiliate both. Tywin has little care for these petty squabbles, but her underlying point is valid. Marrying a Lannister to the Starks would give them a claim to Winterfell. When this war is over, that would be a critical piece to maintaining peace. He initially did consider Tyrion, if only to have an excuse to pack the imp off far away so he'd never have to see him again. But this is not a punishment, it is an opportunity, and he does not trust Tyrion to carry out that task. No, he has more than one son, and the other might be more suited for this. Jaime, his eldest son, is in need of a wife as his heir, and there are few women more suited than Sansa Stark. Besides, it will allow him to convince Joffrey to finally relieve him from the Kingsguard. Tywin allows himself a small smile, knowing that everything in his plan is coming into place. The first step is to approach Sansa Stark. He dare not do this on his own. Instead, he has someone he trusts handle this matter. This task falls to Adam Marbrand, one of Tywin's most gifted commanders. More importantly, a knight who is famed for being chivalrous and courtly. He has him approach Sansa under the guise of providing her security in the aftermath of the Battle of the Blackwater. Sansa accepts the knight's arrival with gracious courtesy, ushering him into her room.
The Lannisters are concerned with your safety, especially given the recent upheavals caused by the war. As their honored guest, they hope to keep you safe.
The consideration is touching, sir. I have not encountered any problems, but I will sleep better at night knowing there are strong men protecting me. I'm glad that I am no longer wed to King Joffrey. He still thinks of me.
That is good, though it was actually Lord Tywin who requested these measures.
Lord Tywin? Yes, of course. His Grace cannot be bothered with such matters. That is the duty of the Hand, correct? Though, if you might indulge me in a question, does he intend to do this for all his guests?
No, simply those he feels are most at risk.
The most valuable, you mean? Tell me, sir. Was there more you wished to discuss before you stationed your men outside my chambers?
It appears you've learned since your time here. Yes, there are other things, my lady. Swords are not the only form of protection in the Red Keep, as you may know.
They say a lady's weapon is her courtesy.
A poor woman, if you ask me, especially in a court like this. A better weapon is a powerful name. The Starks once wielded one, though I believe their star might be fading soon. That does not mean you need to dim with them.
What are you saying?
The Lannisters are proposing a match with you. While your betrothal with Joffrey might be no more, there are still other Lannisters, and Lord Tywin has one in mind. Sir Jaime.
The Kingslayer. He's twice my age. He's a murderer. He's killed Aerys Targaryen. He killed Jory.
My lady, I am not so blind as to ignore the cruelty of Joffrey. I do not know this Jory, but I can assure you I've known Sir Jaime all my life, and he's never treated a woman like that. If you are wed to him, you will be safe.
I will be a prisoner, an honored guest, for life.
Yes, you will. But you shall live long enough to complain about it. I know things are far from ideal, and these are the parts of the war that I detest.
You speak to me as if you were my friend, but you rode against my brother.
I did, and I respected your brother as a worthy foe. It is for that reason that I would rather see you kept safe.
Do you swear it on your honor as a knight?
No, I swear it on my honor as a man.
Sansa stares at him, the earnestness in his eyes. It is something that all the Kingsguard have lacked, a sincere desire to do the right thing. Her gaze softens, and she nods. Later, the Knight of Ashmark leaves with the report that Sansa has consented to this marriage, and with that approval, she is sent away from the capital in the dead of night. Though gold cloaks are stationed outside her door and claim she is ill, Sansa is spirited away in the dead of night to Duskendale, away from Robb's reach and away from the Tyrells. By the time Mace hears of this, it is too late, as he cannot risk demanding her back without exposing his plot. Tywin has every reason to congratulate him, but Cersei is furious. Not only was her chance to humiliate Tyrion lost, but she despises the thought of her brother having to marry that girl. She thinks back to her prophecy of Maggie the Frog, and how a child younger and more beautiful than her will replace her as queen. As he stares out into the horizon and beyond the city, she thinks of Sansa and wonders whether she has found her rival. Yet she is unable to stop Tywin's next moves, such as petitioning Joffrey to remove Jaime from the Kingsguard. He reasons that, given Jaime's captivity, he must be replaced as the Kingsguard cannot be left under strength. Jaime is replaced as Lord Commander with Sir Balon Swan, while Sir Daemon Sand is offered a position in the Kingsguard as a conciliatory gesture to Dorne. Joffrey is more than happy to approve this, seeing his uncle as incompetent for getting himself captured. Tywin only plans on bringing Sansa back once Jaime is returned to him. As a result, Sansa is no longer invited to the wedding, and just as well, since during this eventful day, the celebration turns to mourning when Joffrey tragically passes away in the midst of his wedding feast. While some claim that it is an accident, others believe that it was poison. Sansa is thankfully spared suspicion by most due to her being so far away. The same cannot be said for Tyrion, who was promptly arrested for regicide. Yet, not everything is lost, as Jaime Lannister suddenly appears in the gates of King's Landing, having been released by Catelyn Stark. When he arrives, he is surprised to find that his son is dead, and even more shocked to hear that he must marry Sansa Stark.
Surely you are joking, father. She is a girl young enough to be my daughter, not to mention the recent history between our houses. Do you really think that she or any of her bannermen will follow us?
Her bannermen are sworn to House Stark. Once she is with child, that son will be the legal heir to Winterfell, and they will be obligated to serve him. As for her, what she wants is irrelevant. She is a prisoner, and prisoners do not choose who they follow.
Your sense of romance is truly astounding, father. But do I have to remind you that any child born of us will be a Lannister, and the fact that I am a member of the Kingsguard?
Then we shall find someone to marry her off to. We have a Karstark in our captivity. Those should be close enough. I have also heard stories of distant Stark kin in White Harbor and Barrowtown. One can be found to marry your child and strengthen your claim. As for that final wrinkle, you were a member of the Kingsguard. However, our late king has decreed that you be removed from your position with full honors. And our new king has not seen fit to reverse that decision. Given your current condition, I must agree as Hand of the King.
So that's it then. You have all of that tied up in a neat little bow. Though, are you making this decision as Hand, or as my father?
Does it matter? Given your current condition, you are in no position to protect anyone, and this position in the Kingsguard was always beneath you. The Mad King wanted a hostage, and Robert wanted my support, but they are both dead, and now we decide what happens.
You mean you decide, and everyone else just goes along with your game? Very well then. Give me Tyrion. I want him freed.
Tywin glances at his son and then shrugs. He vows to allow Tyrion to take the Black in the aftermath of his trial. He would even send a note to the Night's Watch, requesting that he be made a steward, citing his talents and promises to give support if they grant this request.
Yet all of this hinges on Tyrion pleading guilty and asking for mercy. The trial that follows is a complete farce, and everyone knows it. The evidence is planted, and witnesses are commanded to say what the crown wants, ensuring a guilty verdict. Despite that, Tyrion demands a trial by combat, with Oberyn Martell serving as his champion. Though he manages to kill the Mountain, the Red Viper also dies, leaving Tyrion found guilty. However, Jaime has little time to dwell on it, as Tywin has Sansa sent back from Duskendale, and the two are married. In contrast to the Purple Wedding, this ceremony is small and done swiftly, with the focus being more on speed rather than spectacle. Tywin realizes that, given recent events, something like this would be seen as opportunistic, so instead he keeps things quiet, with only him, Sir Kevan, Adam Marbrand, and Brienne of Tarth as the witnesses. The latter insists that she be present, and Tywin agrees. The two of them look sympathetic towards the miserable couple as the ceremony concludes. As the two of them are left in the room, Jaime looks at his new bride. Her eyes are red-rimmed and distant, staring at the ceiling as she does not move. The Kingslayer makes no moves either, simply looking at her. He finds himself thinking of his own daughter, Marcella. He barely knows her, but finds himself getting angry at the thought of this happening to her. He thinks of Cersei and Robert, of Brienne and the marriages her father arranged for her, and then he thinks of Tyrion, shivering in the dungeon. When the trial by combat concluded, he will die. It will only be a matter of time, though Tywin promises he will be sent to the wall. And yet Jaime feels only disgust, not just at his father for being so cruel, but also at himself for allowing this to happen. Some nights I am.
What was that, husband?
Nothing, child. I am simply speaking to myself, and there is no need for you to worry. I will not touch you. I have no stomach for this farce, and I suspect neither do you.
I will do whatever my lord husband commands.
You can start by not calling me your lord husband. Jaime would suffice. After all, we are little more than strangers to each other.
You are no stranger to me. You're the man who attacked my father and who tried murdering my brother.
I suppose I am. That and more things you might not even be aware of. But I did make a vow to your mother to see you brought home to Winterfell, and I will fulfill that. In the days that follow, Jaime says nothing about his encounter with Sansa Stark, and instead begins planning forward. He insists that she return with Roose Bolton back north to secure their alliance by having a Stark present. The Boltons are not keen on this plot, especially having been promised to be made Lord Paramount of the North. Having Sansa Stark here complicates things, but they are given a girl who they claim is Arya to help give them legitimacy. It does not fully satisfy Roose, as this girl is the younger daughter, making her claim weaker. That, and the knowledge that Winterfell will not be his, further damages Roose's hold of the North. To pacify him, Tywin sends a contingent of sellswords to reinforce his rule, opting out of sending Lannister men for fear of angering the Northmen. Among them are a few Westerman officers, like Devon Lannister, to ensure their loyalty. Jaime personally recommends Brienne of Tarth as Sansa's protector. Meanwhile, Jaime secretly frees Tyrion from captivity, but his brother also kills Tywin Lannister during his escape, and this leaves House Lannister in chaos. While they look powerful on paper, things are a lot more chaotic behind the scenes, as they must grapple with the loss of Tywin and the encroaching Tyrell influence. For Cersei, she sees this as an opportunity. Barely a day after Tywin's passing, she stumbles into Jaime's quarters, her eyes excited and her gaze unsteady, as she has clearly been drinking. She finds Jaime seated at his table, looking down at himself as he tries to take in everything that has happened.
So, father is truly gone. It is difficult to imagine.
Indeed. All my life, I've only ever done what he's asked. But now, I no longer have to worry about that.
No. Now is our chance to strengthen our influence. We can decide our fate, Jaime. And it can start with this. I have no desire to hide any longer. Let us marry in public and show the realm what they have suspected.
Are you mad? They would...
They would what? Mock us? Call us monsters? They already have, and I do not care. They said the same thing about the Targaryens, and they burned for it. They brought the Seven Kingdoms, the Faith, even their foes across the narrow sea to their knees. Yet they forged a dynasty that lasted 3 centuries. Why should we be any different?
They had dragons.
And we are lions. It does not matter what beast kills a man. The rumors die with them.
And you are forgetting I am already married.
That girl. She is little more than a child, vapid and subservient. You would be bored with her within a fortnight. Father only married you to her to secure the North. Hand her over to the Boltons in exchange for their loyalty. That should secure it just as well.
Hand her over to the Boltons? Are you insane? They would murder her the first chance they get.
And the Boltons would thank us for that service, letting them get rid of their rivals.
You are awfully calm about speaking of children being murdered.
And you were quite defensive of a wife you were forced to marry. One of your foes, if I recall. Unless you have forgotten.
My foes? I don't recall finding her on the battlefield.
I see you have gone soft, Jaime. Is this truly what you've become? Tell me, when they took your hand, did they also take your courage again? Come to me when you've discovered your manhood, and remember who you truly love.
With that, she walks off, her gown rippling behind her as Jaime prepares to walk off after her, but thinks better of it. Instead, he simply bows his head and lets her go. The Kingslayer does not linger in King's Landing for long. Though Robb Stark might be defeated, several houses refuse to bend the knee, and Jaime must deal with them one by one. Meanwhile, the trip to the north remains, as Roose Bolton presents Sansa Stark to the remaining Northmen. This force is a pale shadow of what had initially set out, and as they cheer her name, their voices are ragged and defeated. A few of them shoot her dark looks, questioning why she was released, and whether or not the rumors of her marriage to Jaime are true.
They are true, good sirs. I have indeed married the Kingslayer, who is now Lord of Casterly Rock. I understand there has been much strife between our houses, but rest assured, there is little cause for anger now. This is not an admission of defeat, but a chance to mend the bridges that were burned. Let this be the end of this war.
However, the reception she receives is far from what she had hoped. Most remain cool and mutter some choice words under their breath. The only thing that stops them from doing anything further is the shock of their recent defeat and the lingering memories of Robb and Ned Stark. Roose Bolton watches this and smiles to himself. He knows the Lannisters are foolish to think that the Northmen would accept their rule after marrying her off to one of their own. He begins to smile to himself and begins thinking that this might be a blessing in disguise. Over the course of the journey back, he begins to whisper to the other Northmen's ears, reminding them that Sansa had once sent a letter urging them to lay down their weapons. Perhaps she was not being forced, but bought off. Sansa has always stood out amongst the rest of the Starks. She has always been interested in the South, favoring it over the North, and was smitten with King Joffrey when they first agreed to this arrangement. Roose is quick to remind them of this, and by the time they reach Winterfell, many lords are now barely concealing their disdain for her, with someone muttering the claims of the Lannisters' pet wolf within earshot of hers. All of this leaves Sansa despondent, as she had longed to return home, but finds her home has turned against them. As they turn their backs on her, Roose reminds them that, whatever his faults, he is a Northman and never married into the Lannisters. He is sure to keep his Frey wife out of sight to remind her of his own part in the Red Wedding. He also begins wiping out the Ironborn that remain in the north, giving them some modicum of vengeance. It has some effects, as several houses that secretly resented House Stark or have ties to the Boltons join with them. This includes the Dustons, Swells, and Karstarks. The rest are reluctant, but see no other option. The only comfort she receives is from Brienne, and most surprisingly, Davin.
Do not worry, my lady. The men are simply weary. It will take time to win their trust, but they will come to see you as much Stark as your brother. This is what your mother wanted. She risked everything to see this done.
Then will they not blame me for what happened to Robb, because I was traded for Sir Jaime?
There were many angry men. Many blamed Lady Catelyn, but they soon came around. Some, like the Mormonts, saw the pain in her and came around. They will do the same for you.
Still, that will not come unless you begin taking steps to earn it, my lady. That damsel farce you've built up for yourself might work in the capital, but this place is different.
You seem so certain of that, sir.
Of course. I've understood the feeling. I've lost my father to these Northmen. If Rickard Karstark were here, I would have cut him down, but Robb Stark beat me to his head. Yet there would be nothing that would have stopped me from exacting my revenge. I don't think the Northmen are any different, and these men just lost their liege lord. Do you truly expect them to serve you now? Grudges run deep. A name doesn't change anything.
Sansa nods her head as she looks over the crowds of Northmen and sighs, wondering how much work that will take. For the next few weeks, she tries to speak to those lords who survived, and does whatever she can to solidify their loyalty. She treats them just as she did in the South, talking and praising them for their bravery, or thanking them for their loyal service. But these efforts are met with little success. The lords pay her empty courtesies, little heed, and are quick to remind her that their services were offered to Robb Stark, not her. When these offers fail, Sir Davin offers another idea. She cannot win them over like in the South, and so must instead offer them something more meaningful. Rather than just giving praises, Davin offers to serve as a go-between to negotiate the release of some of the hostages taken in the aftermath of the Red Wedding. Willis Manderley is released from captivity along with Ronald Stout to win their loyalty, while simultaneously depriving them of their loyalty to House Bolton. However, the wayward Northmen still prove to be more troublesome than expected, as Stannis Baratheon suddenly re-emerges from the wall, having saved the Night's Watch, and presses his claim to the Iron Throne with the help of Jon Snow. He is reluctant to join forces with Stannis due to the Night's Watch neutrality, and even more due to Sansa being in Winterfell. While they know that she is a hostage and her claim would be void, he urges Stannis to spare her.
Your Grace, she is still my sister, and the rightful ruler of Winterfell.
And a Lannister puppet. She is married to the Kingslayer. That is something that cannot be taken lightly. It will depend on whether or not she is a hostage or a willing participant.
She would never willingly work with the Lannisters.
Then we shall see if she will bend the knee, Lord Snow.
With that, Stannis rides off with his army. However, he does not follow Jon's advice of trying to win over the Northmen first by recapturing castles like Deepwood Motte and Torrhen Square, causing many houses to rally to his side, like Houses Glover, Umber, and Mormont. But as the last of the Ironborn are cleared out of Torrhen Square, Stannis receives the most unlikely message. Sir Dantas Hollard, the knight, arrives on an old horse, trudging through the snow and approaching the gates of the keep bearing the banner of his house. The fool is dressed in his old knightly raiment and announces that he is speaking on behalf of Lady Lysa Arryn. He says that she had secretly taken him into her service to keep watch of the happenings in King's Landing. That is why he rides out now to announce her intent to join with Stannis in retaking Winterfell. She explains that she knows her husband was murdered by the Lannisters, and that their hold over the Seven Kingdoms will only grow if they are allowed to hold Winterfell, and is prepared to provide military aid.
Lady Arryn simply requests that you allow her to handle matters in the Vale, whether they be administrative, financial, or upholding the King's justice.
That is the right of all lords of the Seven Kingdoms. Does she think me treacherous?
Nothing of the sort, Your Grace. You must understand, Lady Lysa has lost much over the last years. She fears and knows that her position is not strong. It would do much to put her mind at ease if the King's support is reaffirmed.
Is that what it will take for her to sell the Vale Knights to me? Very well then. She shall be allowed to continue ruling the Vale until such a time that Robin Arryn comes of age and can rule in his own right.
Still, he makes good his promise as a fleet sails to White Harbor, bearing Jon Royce and a force of almost 8,000 men. When they arrive at the domains of House Manderley, Lord Wyman reveals that he is secretly plotting to rescue Rickon Stark, whom they believe is alive in Skagos. This news further reinvigorates the Valemen, who ride with all haste to reinforce Stannis' army, galloping through the snow and storms. However, while their position grows, the Lannisters in the north continue to weaken. The Boltons and Davins forces struggle to work together. As though they might be allies in name, tensions rise as the Boltons remain uncertain of the Lannisters' intentions, and they use their rise to power as a way to rally the remaining Northmen, foreign troops, as an excuse that the South intends to divide them. While Roose cannot trust most of his new bannermen, the pressure is mounting, and he must give battle, lest Stannis join forces with these fresh troops and overwhelm him. The vanguard under the command of Ramsay Bolton is sent out and rushes to engage them. They ride out for several days, heading straight for Croster's village that has been fortified. The nearby hills now boast watchtowers and palisades for archers to fire upon them, while the village itself has wooden stakes blocking their path. The few opening shave caltrops and spearmen are ready. Horses are injured and their riders thrown as they face this attack. The Southerners, though half frozen and shaking, remain as determined as ever. They plunge into the attacking force and throw their army into chaos. Ramsay reins in his horse and tries to hold them back, his cavalry trying to move through the scattered obstacles, and the battle soon descends into a brutal melee as Sir Hostin Frey manages to barrel his way through and open up gaps in their lines. Behind him, more of Stannis' men roar as they rush forward to plug up the gap. However, the hardier Northmen are used to the cold weather and do not tire as quickly as their southern foes, leaving the battle's outcome up in the air. However, Stannis has his own Northmen sneaking around the enemy lines in a wide flanking maneuver. The Foresters and the clansmen who lack armor make up for it by hitting their enemy's flank in lightning strikes. This draws away more men toward their trap. The lake had been cut open for men to fish, weakening the ice. This leaves it ready to collapse at any moment, and the mountain clansmen know this. They are careful to avoid the weakening ice, but their foes march right on top of it. From atop one of the hills, Big Bucket Wool smiles and signals the small stone throwers behind him. There is a sudden twang as the siege weapons hurl stones the size of men's head. There's no possible way they could miss, exploding around their foes and sending ice water and sheet blasting across the frozen ground. The ice cracks and gives way, opening up huge fissures that send the sellswords and Frey men-at-arms jumping back in surprise. They hear the deafening cracks and begin to back away, but it is too late. The ice opens beneath their feet and sends men plunging into the water. Their screams mingle with the crash of frozen water that hungrily drags men and horses underneath to chilly waves. A few sodden men-at-arms manage to stumble away from the carnage to report what is happening to the center. Meanwhile, on the other flank, they come under attack by the mountain clans, as over 3/4 of their forces were located on that flank, and begin to push the Boltons into the water. Ramsay watches this and curses, ordering his men to beat a hasty retreat. The only consolation is that Stannis lacks the horses to chase after them, and many of those who fell were Lannister sellswords rather than Bolton men, which Roose wisely held back. However, as Ramsay orders his men back to Winterfell, the sounds of war horns blare in the distance, causing some men to freeze and others to redouble their efforts to escape. Ramsay is among the latter, looking into the mist and trying to make out who is arriving. One thing is clear, and that is they are not Northmen. The horns sound too high, too musical, and then they hear them. The first horse thunders from the fog, bearing the bronze colors of House Royce. More follow, carrying the banners of House Arryn and half a dozen other lesser houses. His eyes widen as he spurs his horse further, pulling ahead from the rest of his army. Many of his men are too slow to react as their forces are caught in the assault and cut down, with only the Bastard of Bolton and a few men managing to escape. As they reach Winterfell, Roose Bolton orders his soldiers to lock down and prepare for a siege, but the news of the defeat and Stannis uniting with the Vale army is an ill omen for him. There are even more rumors that Rickon Stark is with them. With those rumors are the risk of another potential claimant for Winterfell. The Northern Lords grow more restless at this news, now expecting to rise in support of Rickon. While the remaining Lannister sellswords assemble and try to prepare for the next attack, their commander rushes into Sansa's chambers and tosses her a pack.
We must leave at once, Lady Stark. We cannot remain here.
And just where do you plan for us to go, sir?
Anywhere but here, my lady. We do not have much time. This castle will soon be under siege, and I'd rather not wait around and see what will happen.
This castle is the seat of House Stark.
And Stannis is rumored to have his own Stark, which means that Lady Sansa's usefulness has just declined. I was thinking we could perhaps head towards the twins and regroup with Sir Jaime in the Riverlands, and...
The sound of steel cuts him off as Brienne stands ready, drawing Oathkeeper from its sheath and levels it. The Lannister can only stare at the blade leveled at his throat, but then he has his own weapon ready a moment later. The two circle each other warily, Sansa pressing her back against the wall of her room.
I was tasked with escorting Lady Sansa home. She is home now, and I will not have her trade that for anything.
Open your eyes, my lady. Her home is about to fall under siege, or half the North would rather have Sansa be handed over to Stannis, and that is if they are feeling generous.
That does not mean I will sell her back to captivity so she may be moved around like a piece on a board.
You think I like this? To imagine a girl young enough to be my daughter being at such risk. Begging your pardon, but it isn't helping you. She is still a part of House Lannister, and we will protect her.
Care to say that again?
Enough! This will accomplish nothing. It is as you said. If we are to make escape, we must do it immediately. As to where we should go, there is one place we can try.
The two look at her, but they lower their blades. Hours later, the two sneak out through a postern gate that is half hidden in the shrubs, allowing them to slip through the siege lines as they form. Davin leads them out with a handful of men he can trust and gallops off before anyone notices what's going on. However, Brienne glances back at the siege lines, seeing the fiery heart of Stannis Baratheon. Her thoughts drift off to Renly and how he had died on that fateful day. Though she was serious about her desire to protect Lady Sansa, a part of her also longs to avenge Renly. If Winterfell had a siege, she would have a chance to confront Stannis and kill him. The Lannister knight shares no such thoughts. He sighs with relief as the castle disappears behind him. His job is to ensure the Lannisters' interests are protected. More importantly, he knows Jaime wants to keep Sansa alive. When he was first ordered north to protect Sansa Stark, Jaime included a private message, pleading with him to keep her safe, not because of their marriage, but because it's perhaps the only vow he actually wishes to fulfill. Davin has never known his cousin to be serious about much, but when it came to his knighthood, Jaime never joked about that. Because of that, he keeps his head forward and focuses on what shall come next as they ride not towards the neck, but to the wall. Though little does anyone know, he sends a raven south to inform Jaime. Meanwhile, in the Riverlands, Jaime is finding keeping control of the region far more challenging than expected. While Riverrun and the Raventree Hall yield without serious bloodshed, there was still the problem of outlaws. Many of them, like the Brotherhood and the remnants of the Brave Companions, continue to prowl the lands, while the Sparrows are little better. There have already been reports of conflict between them and some of the locals. Some of them have even been reported to be burning Lannister effigies. Adam reports there are strange rumors going about that Cersei was imprisoned by the High Sparrow for adultery. The leader of this rabble now keeps her in custody, where she awaits her trial. A year ago, Jaime would have ridden heaven and earth to come to her aid, but times have changed, and so has Cersei. He recalls the words that Tyrion spoke to him on the day that he freed him, and then there were the words that Lancel told him in Derry of what Cersei made him do. She had changed. She did not remain faithful to him. All those talks of marrying and being together, those were not out of love for him, but for power. A part of him questions whether she truly even loved him, and now they are paying the price for it as reports across the riverlands of unrest caused by the sparrows. While their lords may have submitted, the small folk have not forgotten who burned their lands and terrorized their people. They still recall how Jaime smashed the river folk in the Golden Tooth and burned everything from there to Riverrun. All it takes for them to rise up are the sparrows' sermons and promises that they are protected by their gods. Already the garrison of House Frey has come under attack, and Jaime receives reports that other river lords only protect their lands while allowing them to rampage unchecked. With less than 1,000 men with him, Jaime does his best to rout them. His small force means he cannot ride out quickly, using the black roads and riding with all haste towards signs of trouble. They manage to wipe out several small bands of these rebels, but they are only crumbs to a larger pie. As for everyone they crush, 2 more take their place. What is worse is that most simply avoid battle, melting into the woods or hills. Others simply remain hidden in plain sight as Jaime attempts to win the small folk over. These efforts are met with mixed success, as most give only the bare minimum to avoid trouble, refusing to send guides, making excuses when they ask for supplies, and always claiming they have no information about the sparrows. Some of his advisors urge punishment, suggesting they be hanged or rooted out of their homes just as Lord Tywin would do, but Jaime has no intention of being like Tywin. He simply ignores them and only punishes those with crimes he can prove. Still, they eventually get word that one captain of the Sparrows, a former Riverland knight who calls himself Tristan Mudd, is rallying the Sparrows and Smallfolk, urging them to ride south towards King's Landing to support the High Sparrow in his quest for justice. With the Tyrells handling the capture of Storm's End and contending with the Ironborn in their domains, they can spare no soldiers. This leaves Jaime to handle this. Gathering what levies remain loyal to him, he rides south with the intent of crushing this army outside Maidenpool. Lord Mooten welcomes their arrival, reaffirming his loyalty and insisting he is a servant of House Lannister. He opens the gates to Jaime's army, which numbers some 6,000 men, facing off against an army of sparrows numbering 10,000, including several hundred knights. While outnumbered, most of the sparrows are poorly armed and have little armor. Instead of engaging them, they form up a wagon train in a circle, reinforced with stakes and wooden boards that shield them from arrow fire and plug up gaps to prevent horses from reaching them. The few knights the sparrows have are positioned behind the wagons, while archers and spearmen stand ready. Jaime signals his men forward, and the initial wave of men-at-arms and knights crash against their army. The wagons present no opening, and when they circle, arrows shoot out from inside, picking off individual knights. It is chaos, and the cavalry is forced to retreat in disarray, allowing 100 or so mounted sparrows to engage them. Cursing, Jaime orders his cavalry back and signals his longbowmen forward. They rain arrows upon the wagon train while the infantry advances forward, spears and swords ready. Like the cavalry, they rush the wagon train, trying to find an opening, but this time their warriors work to make one. Some carry axes and swords and begin hacking at the wagons, trying to open up gaps. However, this has little success either, as the few horsemen the sparrows do have begin to gallop out and chase them off. After several more charges, they are still no closer to bringing the sparrows to heel. Sir Adam rides up, blood covering his armor, and cuts across his face where a stray crossbow bolt nearly claimed his eye.
It is no good, Jaime. That wagon ladder they created is like a fortress. We can't breach it, and they aren't going anywhere. Not going anywhere. You're right, Sir Adam. Have your men gather all the remaining firewood. No, gather anything we don't need that will go up in flames.
Adam looks at his friend, but nods and begins shouting orders. Under the cover of their longbowmen, the servants and men-at-arms work. Bundles of wood are brought over, followed by furniture and essential parchment. As the pile grows, Jaime has torches lit and lights the pile up, turning it into a pyre. Men with cloaks blow smoke into the direction of the wagon fort, and the effect is immediate. While they cannot burn them out, Jaime is satisfied with smoking them out. Soon the sparrows begin to cough and gasp from behind their walls, as in this regard, the wagons cannot protect them. They try to cover their mouths with their cloaks and tunics, but Jaime continues to fuel the flames until its effects are impossible to hide. Some of them gasp and stumble out. Longbowmen take aim, but Jaime lets these few stragglers escape. The sight of their comrades escaping from this choking air causes more to follow. Although Sir Tristan tries to order them to stop, the smoke becomes too great, and more come rushing out. This is just as Jaime wants, and he orders his archers to lay waste to them. A normal army might form ranks and reform itself, but the peasants lack the discipline and simply scatter. Jaime smiles to himself and orders the cavalry to charge. The sparrows break and make a run for safety behind the hills, but the horsemen ride them down. With their numbers thinned, Jaime orders another attack, and this time the sparrows do not have the numbers to hold their wagon fort, allowing the Lannisters to storm it. By the end, thousands of sparrows are gone, and their efforts to rearm themselves have been seriously hampered. However, that is not the end of their troubles, as Cersei remains in their custody, and there are soon reports that sellswords have landed in the Stormlands. Jaime receives urgent letters from Cersei to ride south and save her, asking her in the name of their love, and then there is a letter from Sir Davin, requesting reinforcements as the Vale has now joined the war in favor of Stannis. He barely manages to escape Winterfell and rides to the wall, but requests he arrive to save them. Sir Adam approaches him shortly after and raises his visor.
That was a clean sweep, Jaime. Nicely done. But now comes the chance to finish them off. Shall we hunt their High Sparrow now that his army is gone?
Glancing at the letter, Jaime thinks of Cersei, the sister he's thought of as a lover. Then he casts the letter into the flames.
We ride for the wall, Sir Adam. Mace Tyrell can handle these sellswords. And what of the Queen? We must simply trust that the gods know her innocence.
That's our theory. Remember, if this video gets 3,000 likes, part 2 will be released. Hopefully not Cersei though, right? Westeros is a land filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey across the Seven Kingdoms and beyond, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.